Outlander is no stranger to intimate scenes. In fact, one would say they hold the monopoly on them. But are those scenes of vulnerability as cautiously choreographed as they seem in the heat of the episodic moment? Well, apparently, they weren't professionally coordinated up until recently. This is why Sam Heughan felt the need to bring on an intimacy coordinator for season 6. And here's all you need to know about it. First up, the intimacy and film production. What one needs to remember as a viewer watching intimate scenes depicting actors partially or entirely nude is that these actors have a whole team of people working around them to make the shot seem as natural and organic as possible, especially in light of the kind of show that Outlander is. Sex scenes between actors are very common and varied in nature. The show has even been praised for showcasing intimate scenes between older characters, since many other TV shows shy away from depicting older people in intimate settings. Although the most of these many intimate scenes features actors Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe, and they've been at it since season 1. Actor and now producer Sam Heughan explained that sex and intimacy are a huge part of Claire and Jamie's relationship. He claimed that is how the pair reconnect with each other, and that it's great to see a healthy relationship like that be depicted on screen. Next, Sam Heughan on feeling unsupported during season 1 sex scenes. As we mentioned, both Heughan and Balfe have had to be a part of close-up intimate scenes that featured both partially nude since the very first season, not only with each other, since the nature of the show and the book it was based on translated to the characters having to film non-consensual sex scenes as well. And it seems as though Heughan is finally sharing how his experience may have led to him hiring the intimacy coordinator in the first place. Starting off on a neutral note, Heughan talked about how scenes sexual in nature are always pretty uncomfortable and not always the most natural thing to depict and portray. He then admitted that despite the personal intimacy issues, going through the first season rape and assault scene with Jamie against Blackjack Randall was pretty tough. This scene took place right at the end of the season when Jamie gives himself up in order to let Claire escape, and in doing so is subjected to repeated torture and sexual assault. That is, until he's rescued by Claire and the rest of the Highlanders. The actor noted that looking back on it, he didn't feel all that supported during those scenes. He did not think that working on season 1 when it first aired in 2014 was a dramatically different experience for everyone involved. Heughan told Insider that at the time, people had different expectations from the show, and navigating those expectations perhaps led to the overt sex scenes of the season as compared to the gentle ones that the show indulges now. The difference is stark, and Heughan claimed that now, maybe less is more. Up next, the intimacy coordinator. The concept of hiring an intimacy coordinator in Hollywood is still relatively new, which should be more surprising than it is. In the wake of the Weinstein scandal and the Me Too movement, the need for an intimacy coordinator on set was repopularized, and the first show to announce that they hired an intimacy coordinator was HBO's The Deuce, a show about New York City sex workers in the 70s. And as an executive producer on season 6 of the show, Sam Heughan made the calculated and widely praised decision to hire an intimacy coordinator for season 6. Although it made many viewers wonder why now, after dozens of scenes together, why should the team feel the need to hire an intimacy coordinator? After all, the couple had been shooting intimate scenes since the first season and had never before mentioned needing or having one at all. Now, before the intimacy coordinator, Heughan admitted that the employment of an intimacy expert is a relatively new thing in the industry. He also said that the show itself comprises a lot of intimate moments and scenes, and in the past he said that he and Katrina were kind of left to figure the sexual bits out on their own and had to make do with learning on the job. Just for reference, acting as Claire was Balfe's first acting gig at all, so one can imagine how that might be a high-stress situation. Heughan said that the pair have learned to figure it out on their own. They have a set way of working and creating this relationship. But once Vanessa Coffey was on board, they realized very quickly that it was actually a lot more pressurizing than they realized. Heughan claimed that it was great having her on set since she really helped them work through those scenes. Now, let's look into how Vanessa Coffey helped. Since Sam Heughan admitted that in the past, like most TV series before the popularization of intimacy coordinators on set, both Balfe and he had to figure it out on their own. So in that aspect, Coffey helped a ton. He also said that she also might have helped move the scenes and added to them what they could not. According to Heughan, in the past, they would not know how to navigate the scenes entirely authentically, and so the presence of Coffey helps in that regard as well. It's a better viewing experience and a welcome addition to the show. He also said that the presence of Coffey on set might help younger actors who are new to the intimacy that a show like Outlander demands. He said that as a whole, it just takes a lot out of the pressure and fear, and hopefully makes those scenes more enriched. Next, Balfe's opinions on the sex scenes in the show. Balfe recently claimed that the one thing that makes Outlander so great as a show is that viewers get to see the domestic daily life of a couple who actually make things work. She also claimed that despite the small number of episodes in season 6, fans will get to spend more time with the characters they love so much, and the characters in turn will also spend time in each other's company without it becoming steamy. And that, Balfe claimed, was a welcome change, since she herself does not love all of the sex scenes. She said that they're never the most fun to film. She believes that at this point the audience knows that they have a healthy sex life. Balfe did admit that intimacy is a really core part of their relationship, like Heughan claimed, since it portrays that they are as in love with each other as they've always been. Now, in other Outlander news, Heughan is not the only new producer on set. Both lead actors Katrina Balfe and Sam Heughan have now made executive producers on the 6th season of the show. This obviously gives them the freedom and the ability to be much more involved in the show's proceedings going forward. The pair were made executive producers at the time of their contract renewals, as they'd both originally signed on for 5 seasons. With his title as executive producer, Heughan hired an intimacy coordinator. This, of course, foretells that there might be a large number of sex scenes between Claire and Jamie this season as well. But now, as the show progresses and evolves, the goal is to include sex and intimate scenes when they serve a purpose in the plot or story of the show, rather than just shoving a hefty amount in and calling it a day. Next, season 6 is here. Outlander's 6th season has finally been made available on all the streaming services it currently resides on, and fans have expectations as high as the wait for this season was long. After the traumatic events of the 5th season's finale, it's confirmed that season 6 will have a bit of a time jump. Even so, when the story picks up in season 6, it might showcase Claire still struggling with the trauma and the aftermath of her assault, but she is shown suffering in silence, since she might consider her suffering a sign of weakness. The trauma that Claire faces was of gang rape at the hands of Lionel Brown and his men, who were all killed off. Even in the last episode of the season, Claire was determined to avoid the experience and forced herself to act as though nothing had happened. But it seems as though the 6th season will talk about her trauma and dedicate a discernible amount of time to showcase the aftermath. Lastly, Balfe thinks it is important to showcase the trauma. For a character like Claire, self-diagnosed and widely accepted to be the moniker of being a strong female character, it's difficult to authentically tell their tales of suffering. So far, Outlander has managed to do so decently well and not fall into the cliche of completely breaking Claire or having her seem completely unfazed. That will be an admittedly painful but necessary journey to see. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. What do you think about the addition of an intimacy coordinator on the Outlander set? Let us know in the comments down below, and be sure to like the video and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.